Hello everybody, so I'm sort of dealing with another hangover because I went out last night and had a drink for the first time in over 2 weeks since I got back from Spain. Because I don't drink that often anymore, so I thought, the cure, what's the better cure than sort of going over my favourite human case study of Mr. Armstrong, and we'll continue the lawsuit thing. We're up to basically each argument that he touched upon briefly at the beginning of the lawsuit, highlighting what his issues were. He's expanding on them all now. I've struggled to find the words of how ridiculous this is, but it's kind of... Do you know, I was thinking about this. We got all this new trolling going on and all that. I don't really know what went on, but it's kind of... We've got enough within the lawsuits and the holy pornography itself. There's enough entertainment there to go on forever. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we don't need any more. This is unbelievable, this stuff. And it's great because it's so strange that I've never sat down and gone into it with any detail before. Anyway, I digress. So let's have a look. Argument number 10. Violating... This should be good. This should be fucking good. Violating journalistic code of ethics. Right, well, I think you'll find that very few... I don't mean this to insult, but I found, certainly in the UK, where it's world renowned for terrible fucking journalistic people, they very rarely have codes of ethics. They will print what sells. It's just the way it works. It's the way that media works. You very rarely... I've had arguments with journalists in the past. It's just... Some of them are just relentless. But anyway, of course... Not all journalism is like that. But with regard to what we're talking about here, really, he hasn't got a leg to stand on anyway, has he? Because of what he tried to do. So it's just crazy that he would bring this up. If you were someone who was like on a humanitarian mission and someone was poking cameras in your face and interrupting what you were doing because, I don't know, because you had a fucking misdemeanor from 10 years ago, then you quite happily go down this road. But to sort of come at it from the angle that he has it's staggering. It's amazing that it makes me... I've not even started reading yet. Right, okay, let's carry on, or I'll just keep fucking laughing to myself for half an hour. Plaintiff states claim for violating journalistic code of ethics, NBC and perverted justice. Right, well, straight away, I don't know what perverted justice have got to do with it, because this is supposed to be a claim against NBC, right? And he's saying journalistic. Perverted justice are not journalists. So, he's kind of talking shit already. NBC and perverted justice became so focused on making money. Well, perverted justice are a volunteer group. They're not there for making money. So it's kind of... Listen, there's been some highlights in the past that potentially... what do you call it? Perverted justice have got some that maybe didn't operate on a 100% above board basis, if you get what I mean. But I would argue that for the most part, the reasons for being there were as probably as honourable as you could get. In other words, they wanted to... This is my view about it. I don't know much about the organisation, but from what I could tell, the goals were get these people exposed. The ins and outs of the money that they were paid and what happened to that money, I've no idea, and there's no point in me going into it. But so within the first sentence, 2 sentences, he's talking complete nonsense. Making money and ratings that NBC Well, hang on. NBC and perverted justice became so focused on making money and ratings. Well, you don't make ratings, you acquire them. making money and ratings that NBC. Right, I'm struggling to understand this sentence here. NBC and perverted justice became so focused on making money and ratings that NBC completely ignored, as Society of Professional Journalism states, the nation's most broad-based journalists organisation dedicated to encouraging the free practice of journalism. Okay, what's that got to... Okay, which... The world's largest professional... Right, you've just... What are you going on about? You just repeated that twice. The world's largest professional organisation exclusively serving the electronic news profession, which includes electronic journalists in radio, television, and all digital media, as well as journalists, educators, and students. All these standards. Is that it? Where it shows a list of journalistic codes of ethics. NBC has violated almost all of these ethics by producing the shows. It's not even... Well, tell us, right, if you're making this claim in a lawsuit that they violated every one, tell us. You can't just say they violated every one of these fucking codes of ethics and not even tell us what they are. What a fucking... What is this? What planet is this guy on? I'm just staggered. The world's largest professional organisation exclusively serving the electronic news profession, which includes electronic journalists in radio, television, and all digital media, as well as journalism, educate. I'm trying to take it seriously. I know this sounds ridiculous, but there's no... I'm trying to approach it. There's no point me doing this if I just dismiss it before I've even read it. I've got to try and give his writing a chance. I'm trying my very best to understand if there's any logic behind what he's done, and there doesn't seem to be a shred of it. In fact, it's not that there isn't any logic. It goes under the level of having no logic. So, if no logic was a 0, we're at minus 100. Where it shows a list of journalistic code of ethics, NBC has violated almost, so not even all of them, he's saying almost all of them, which makes it even more ridiculous because he's saying it's up to us to go into this code of ethics on this website and identify ourselves, or the court identify themselves which one of these codes that they violated. Not all of them, which would have been easier because we can go, right, okay, tick off each one and say, right, okay, they violated this one, this one, this one, and this one. He's not even saying that. He's saying almost all of them. So it's up to you to go into there and then you figure out which ones that they violated. So he wants the court to do the work for him. Wow. Just, wow. That's the only word that my brain can conjure up at the minute. Wow. And that's not a proper word. Right. Deliberate indifference. I don't really know what that means. Deliberate indifference. Deliberate indifference. I'm struggling to grasp what he means by that. Right, okay. Plaintiff states claim for deliberate indifference for. Plaintiff states claim for deliberate indifference for. Right, thank you for that, Lorne. Persuading police officers to engage in arrest tactics for dramatic effect to make sensational television footage in a manner that broadcaster knew would humiliate. I'm so mean, Anna. I just can't. It's just funny. I can't help it. Oh, this is fantastic YouTube entertainment. Just me laughing. I mean, why wouldn't you want to listen to this? In a manner that broadcasting you would humiliate him being arrested falsely. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I've just got the gills now. the broadcasting would humiliate him. Right, okay. Right, sorry, let me try again. In arrest tactics for dramatic effect to make sensational television footage. Okay, so he's touched upon this already. What he's saying is that the way that they filmed it, and it was dramatic, because I remember showing my mate at work the footage once. He's a kind of involuntary member of the Lawn Saga because he hasn't got any choice, because he works with me on a regular basis. It's like, you know, but he's not that sad where he makes videos about it like me. But when I showed him the footage for the first time, it was straight from the show, you know, the clip that's on Daily Motion. He's like, and he walks outside and they go, down, get down. He was like, whoa. He was like, fucking hell, they've proper gone to town on him there. And it's proper like dramatic television, isn't it? You know what I mean? This guy is having guns pointed at him. He's close to dying, to being killed. And you know, you got in America, the way that the law operates and the way that you know, the treatment of offenders is so different. This is the way I look at it, and I don't mean to judge or offend anybody, but in England we're too soft with people. In America there seems to be a case that they're too harsh with people, like the situation on death row, and it's nuts, like, you know. But I prefer how it's dealt with in America than over here. Fucking people literally get away with murder in the UK. So I do understand where his frustration comes to with regard to getting filmed having the guns pointed at him. The thing is, you could stretch to it and bite, and you could allow him you could allow him what he's saying and say, yeah, you know what, it might have been a bit excessive than pointing guns at you and putting you on the television, as well as you getting locked up for 5 years, as well as everything else you had to go through. If he would have admitted guilt and went, you know what, I'm fucked up, I did a terrible thing, or tried to do a terrible thing, I'm clearly sick, I clearly need help, but do you know, the last thing I needed was having guns pointed at me and getting humiliated on TV. But he doesn't even touch upon it. Not at any point during this document that I've read so far in these videos that I've done have I ever seen an admission of guilt on his part. Not one. Not one shred. So it's ridiculous for him to even go down this route. And this is why the lawsuit is such a pivotal part of the saga of him, is that when, as well as the chat, which was so overtly guilt-ridden, you know, you read all the pornography, there's no question, not even a hint of a doubt about what he wanted to do and what his state of mind was. But for him, for this to, you can't write shit like this. You cannot have made a Hollywood movie and have what that man went through to produce this lawsuit, to virtually dismiss everything that he did. Someone, I think, said in one of the comments in my last video with it, it's almost like the chat never existed. And it's true. It's like it's like he didn't do a thing wrong. It's like the ramblings of a completely innocent man. Plaintiff states claim for negligence. I can never say that word. An individual would believe that a normal person or corporation would think twice. An individual would believe that a normal person or corporation would think twice about doing an action a second time when a life has been taken the first time around because of greed, cruel and heartless intentions. Violent person or corporation so much that it blinds what a person should see. But because of a material thing and lack of honour, oh my good God. Do you know what? Like I've said, if a person who was innocent had wrote this, you could take it seriously. But he's saying lack of honour. He's wrote this. Would you like to see it up close so you can get a better look at it? Take your finger and stick it in your Did you experiment last night? What? Do those sound like the words of someone with honour? He's got no right to say that word. He doesn't even know what that word means. He's got no idea. He doesn't have the level of consciousness to even begin to know what that word means. Integrity is another word what I would use as honour. He's got no right to use that word. No right whatsoever. Because he doesn't understand it. And he can never understand it. Well, he could, but he chooses not to. I'm actually getting frustrated now. There's like a slight bit of anger taking over me, which I try to avoid. Anyway, I don't. Right, hang on a minute. I don't really understand what is. Right, an individual will believe that a normal person or corporation would think twice about doing an action a second time when a life has been taken the first time around. I think he's referring to the district attorney. So he's saying that they shouldn't do what they've done because he blew his brains out. Because of greed, cruel and heartless intentions. Filling the person or corporation so much that it blinds what a person should see. But because of a material thing, you see, I can't really grasp what his ramblings actually mean here, but the gist of it is, at the very basic level, is you shouldn't be doing it and putting it on TV because someone could kill themselves. Now, there is a case. The Jeff Stacey situation highlights what made all that interesting was to say that because of that programme, people can never escape what happened. There's always going to be a group of people like us that are going to fascinate over these people in a weird, not sexually fascinate, you know what I mean? So they can never escape it. Look at Stacey, right? He's got married. And there's photos floating around online and people like me making videos about it. Of course, I try to do it in as fair a way as possible, but it's still attention that is out there online because of that show. So you can never escape it because it's broadcast. Now, at the end of the day, I do see the glimmer of logic in what Lorne is saying, is that they've got no right to plaster it all over TV and make people's situation 10 times worse. NBC's justification was that in them doing that, what it does is it highlights the problem and stops more people trying to do it for fear of getting caught and humiliated on national TV. It's a very interesting sort of way of looking at it, because from one side you could say, well, did what they did it save any innocent people from harm? If the answer to that is yes, then in my opinion every single thing that they ever did was justified if it saves one innocent person from being harmed, a child. Their motive, he's right in what he says. All the producers at NBC didn't sit down and think, right, how can we change the world for the better? They're there to make TV shows and to make ratings and to make sensationalist journalism. But I would argue that the way that they approached it, I quite liked. I didn't think it was over the top in that Chris Hansen couldn't have been a better host, in my opinion. He gave them an opportunity to explain themselves. He didn't judge them. He didn't call them names. Ironically, the only time I've ever seen him insult anybody is when he said to Lorne, "You're one of those weirdos." But, of course, you can't disagree with what he said. At the beginning of the whole Lorneography, Lorne's babbling on saying there's a lot of weirdos online, and then 20 minutes later he's telling her to stick a finger inside her. You know, you can't deny it. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is I have started to see that shred of logic of where he's coming from. The fact that he doesn't admit any guilt whatsoever means that you can just dismiss everything he says. But I understand what he's getting at. Because of us, And it's so ironic that it's ironic that him going about this now, 10 years on, 11 years on, there's still that shred, that aura of attention around him online. He's still getting trolled. He can't escape it. But for him, it's so ironic that he's babbling on about it, and here we are, and here I am making a video about it now, and the trolling is ongoing. But he chose when he made his YouTube channel and thought he could make money out of it, he decided that he wanted to take advantage of what happened and make money out of it and insult people that had a go at him. And he thought he was stupid enough to actually think that he could make a YouTube channel, leech off the back of the popularity from the show, but have no one call him out on it. Now, just think about this, the sort of lack of intelligence behind that decision there. He tried to do what he did to a child, or to what he thought was a child. So he exposed himself for being quite sick-minded. He then realised a group of people were interested in him. He couldn't quite grasp where that interest stemmed from. He thought he could make money out of it and sell t-shirts and promote his music, but he didn't want people mentioning what actually happened. Can you see the conflict of interests there? And that's karma in action, because what he's doing is he's not moving on in his life. He's stuck still. As I've said, I don't agree with him consistently getting duped from day to day. I don't get it. I don't see the need why anybody would feel it is. Listen, it's the car crash that you can't look away from. It's funny. I can't deny that. He doesn't need help to mess his life up. But ultimately, a lot of people say, well, he's got the choice to sort of, he's got that individual choice to not to not participate. Of course, he does have that choice, but really he doesn't, because he doesn't know any better. Do you know what I mean? He's that kind of deluded that he just doesn't know how to behave any differently. It's fucking, mate, I mean, it's a staggering situation. It's kind of hit me, really, a bit of a realisation here that he's going on here about this, that it shouldn't be broadcast on TV, that it's sensational journalism, that it shouldn't be done to humiliate him, and it's still in effect now. So do these guys, like I said, and with the Stacey thing, you know, he's trying to move on, he's got married, and there's still that attention about him. If he'd have just been caught by perverted justice and it wasn't broadcast on TV, that wouldn't be a factor, but he would still have been dealt with by the law. And you know, served his time, right, been punished, and then get on with his life. But because of that show, these people are never going to move away from it. And us people that are interested in the TCAP thing, and I've got a hand in it because I make videos about it and I find it very interesting, these people can never escape it. There are some people that would say, tough shit, you know, you did what you did, it's black and white, you deserve exposure forever. If those people are still a danger, I would agree with that, but we don't know that every one of them is. You know, it's an interesting sort of, it's an interesting situation, you know. Right, okay. I've digressed for what time are we up to now? 24 minutes. Oh, right, okay. Blah, blah, blah. The sad reality is that Chris Hansen and his NBC crew were so filled with an urge to make a name for themselves and get ratings for NBC that it cost the life of an individual that was supposedly... Why does he use the word supposedly? That it cost the life of an individual. So he's going again about the, just in case you don't know, For anybody that's listening, I'll very briefly touch upon it. A district attorney in Murphy got caught trying to solicit a young boy for sex, and the cops went to his house with a camera crew, and he killed himself before they got inside. Because I think he knew he was going to get exposed. They didn't force that gun upon him. He chose to do what he did, and he chose to break the law, and he chose the coward's way out. And his sister, basically it's that, I think it's that was the end of To Catch a Predator. It's a fascinating topic to go over. I made a video of it on the last channel I had. But it's interesting here that Lorne uses the word supposedly. That was supposedly soliciting sex with a minor on the internet. Well, there's no supposedly about it. That's exactly what happened. Although that individual did not go to the Sting House even after being invited, that did not stop Chris Hansen and his crew from talking the police into endorsing acts. He's got a point there, you know. If you think about it, that district attorney never went to the Sting House. Now, from a personal belief, I think the only reason he didn't go there is because of fear of getting caught. What they actually did, what he did was committed offences just by engaging in that chat. So, excuse me. So, that he's committed an offence. Is it necessary that they went to the house at that time with a camera crew and officers with guns? Couldn't they have just, in England, this is what would have happened. A plainclothes officer would have gone round, potentially, and just knocked on the door and said, "Excuse me, we need to speak to you down at the police station. Can you come and see us? You can bring a lawyer if you want." But what they did is they went to extreme measures. And because Dateline were involved, the camera crew were there, he couldn't handle it all, and he blown his brains out. Now, that's why the sister wanted to sue NBC. Now, there's many different perspectives, a way of looking at it. Was it the right thing to do? Obviously, the sister, you know, the family of that chap, the district attorney's family, would have been enraged, and they successfully sued. No, they didn't sue NBC. NBC reached an out-of-court settlement. I believe the figure it was quite high. You're talking, million, quite high, as I understand it. So the fact that they accepted liability and made an out-of-court settlement, knowing that they would lose in a court situation, you could argue that maybe the tactics they used were wrong. It's an interesting topic. Of course, I know people are going to have varying opinions on it. That ended the life of an otherwise law-abiding citizen with a good name and reputation. Well, that's kind of irrelevant, because in some ways it makes it worse, because as I think the show said that he, in his campaign, one of his spiels about his political spiels about his position as district attorney, he was going on about, yeah, I plan to crack down on internet predators, and then he did it. So it kind of makes you worse than a lot of people, because you should know better. So what you doing? You know, what you playing at? What he says here, an otherwise law-abiding citizen. Well, otherwise, it doesn't fucking matter if he'd spent 1,000 years fucking helping starving children. If you then decide to abuse one, you're a twat. It's as simple as that. You're not a good person. You're not a good person. Good people don't do that. People in these positions, district attorneys or whatever, some of them obviously good people, some of them are purely there for one singular reason, and that's ambition and to make money. They're not interested in being a good person. They'll say they're a good person to make money and to make themselves look good. It's purely an ego thing. So, good people don't do that. Because if he was acting from a place of being a good person, there's no harm. You don't want to commit harm to another person. Or even if he thought that he was doing, there was no harm in what he was doing because two people were engaged in consensual sex. Well, I'm sorry, but a child of that age, as an adult in your 40s or 50s, is disgusting, and you fucking, it's just no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it. When all this transpired, NBC was able to obtain photographs of the body, which was illegal, and jumped on at the opportunity to grab any other footage of the scene they could get, just to improve ratings for this disgusting show they inaccurately named. Inaccurately named. Why is he going on about this so much? Well, I think I know. No, they held no care for the life they caused to be taken. He's proper, like, jumped on this, hasn't he? I didn't realise he touched upon it so much. Patricia Conrad of the estate of Lewis William Conrad, deceased, versus NBC Dateline. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll look at that in the next video. Because I'm going to wrap this up shortly. It's interesting that he touches upon this so much, and I find it funny that this disgusting show they inaccurately named. Now, I know why he said that, inaccurately named, because he doesn't see himself as a predator. He is, or should I say he was. I can't say he is now, because I have no evidence. Well, listen, for what it's worth, he's not changed much. He's not changed at all. That for what it's worth, for anybody that is interested, the Lorne that engaged in the chat log is there's very little difference between what exists now from the evidence available. He's not faced his demons. He hasn't. It's the only way for him to heal is to face that deep, dark demon inside of him, and he hasn't got the courage yet to do it. Well, he might have done it yesterday, for all I know, but I can say with total conviction that it wasn't an accurately titled show. Anybody that went to that address, to the Sting House, to meet one of them people is an online predator. You're preying on innocent children who don't know any better, who... there's no other way of putting it. So for him to say it's inaccurate, I can't believe I'm taking him seriously, what he said. But I think we can pretty much all agree that. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening and giving me the opportunity to fight and get rid of my minor hangover. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll speak to you soon.